Welcome to the Jake and Elaine Show, where your host, Caleb Santos, shares some insights on the characters of the show, so sit back and enjoy. The Jake and Elaine Show is in session.
Hello, hello, hello. This is Caleb Santos. In case you didn't know, I am the original creator of the Jake and Elaine comedy series, the Jake and Elaine Show. This is not an avatar, this is the real deal. Sometimes I have used avatars in the past, but today is the real deal. Today I'm going to have like kind of a fireside chat with you, dealing with a podcast like Spreaker, and these guys, the Spreaker podcast, and which I'm working with, they're good guys. I have to admit, they're good guys. They're fair. They work with me. But one of the things that they have told me is that I cannot feature any complete songs. So I do apologize. I know I like gospel music and I like Latin jazz, but you could hear it at the Jake and Elaine Show. I have a couple of selections there that are video musicals that you could listen to. But I wanted to share some thoughts about the series and the future of the series. How did it begin? Well, first of all, I am a pastor of a ministry. I have my own ministry. I work as an elder with Love Fellowship, where the overseer and pastor is Steve Johnson, and and I've been really blessed working with him. But I remember a couple of years back when we were traveling to New York. My wife and I was listening to a Spanish radio station. It was a Christian station, and they were doing some fundraising. And then what happened is that my wife decided to say, "Well, I'm gonna put myself as Amparo Collazo." And we all laughed because that name sounded funny, Amparo Collazo, and that was about maybe 20 years ago. But when I did the Jake and Elaine show, one of the things that struck out was the need to have a new character, and this character was gonna be different, was gonna be Puerto Rican, and then all of a sudden the name Amparo Collazo came out. It was like maybe it was, I believe it was a prophetic thing that the Lord had said. So I really believe that Jake and Elaine is just more than just a creation. I believe it's a divine inspiration by the Lord that the Lord is going to use in this end times to reach people of all kinds of all kinds of backgrounds. Because I really believe that laughter is something that breaks the ice. And I think that we need to put politics aside, our differences aside, and start to, take a look at things and start having laughter, because laughter is actually healthy. It really is healthy. And I really believe that that's one of the things that God may well use, and I shouldn't say may well use, will use in the end times. Because, see, God has his people in all aspects. He has his people in the media. He has his people in the government. He has his people in business. And why not having people in comedy? So the Jake and Elaine show is a comedy show. And I think that is going to be something that people are going to look at and they're going to like it. God has given me some episodes, and I really have, I've seen how people are beginning to accept the show, the characters, man and wife, and getting into all kinds of things, and saying jokes and having drama in it. So I decided to include another character by the name of Amparo Collazo. And Amparo has an interesting background, and I think we saw some aspects of her life. And she was born in Ponce, Puerto Rico. She got raised up in New York. Her dad brought her to the Bronx, New York. She had to learn how to be tough because people would pick on her. And she had two brothers, one older than her, one younger, and they were very familiar with the streets, and so familiar that they got into trouble. They got sent to reform school and got sent into jail. We'll probably hear about them later on. But Amparo's wanted Amparo's father wanted to get his daughter out of that atmosphere. And so since he was an Air Force veteran and he served in the Air Force for about 10 years before he got injured and had to leave on a disability, uh, he really liked the military. But Amparo didn't want to join the Air Force. She wanted to be joining the Navy. So he said anything to get my daughter out of these streets because she was a tough girl too. She was getting into, I mean, one of the things that Amparo has, she has a toughness. She's very tender. She's very kind-hearted, but you cross her or you do anything to hurt her or her family, the toughness comes out. And she's a tough girl and she has excellent leadership capacity. When she was growing up in the streets of New York, she was served like in the capacity of a leader. In fact, she was starting to get involved in gangs and being a leader in gangs, and her father was being concerned about that. But she has very good leadership skills. Very tender-hearted person. You see her, you wouldn't think she was a SEAL. You think she doesn't even look strong enough to be a SEAL. But don't let that deceive you because she's about maybe 5'6", 5'7", but don't let that deceive you because that woman will move with this, with a quick speed, and she knows how to do the moves. She went to the Navy and took a SEAL training, and she made sure she learned how to defend herself. She has a black belt in karate, and she has, she can put a hurting on any man. And it's funny because I have a clip, and you could watch it on the Jake and Elaine show on YouTube. There's a clip of her that she's going out with her husband Mingo. She already married Mingo. They're going out to eat, and these goons, these thugs, they are following them. They're three guys, and one of them says a derogatory remark against Amparo, and Mingo, her husband, clips him and knocks him out. But then in turn, one of the guys knocks out Mingo. So these two guys that are left standing, because Mingo got one of them, so there's two guys left standing, and they say, "Let's party with this girl." But this girl, let me tell you, she took her shoes off, and she put a hurting on them. She moved quick, and they tried to even strangle her, but she just was too quick and too fast, and she made the moves, and within about probably 10 minutes, they were on the floor groaning and in pain. And then she wakes up her husband Mingo, who's out cold. He says, "Baby, wake up! Thank you for protecting me." She's very kind-hearted. Like I said, very kind-hearted person. "Thank you for protecting me." She had her shoes off and everything. She did the work, but she gave the credit to her husband. And he came to, and then she says, "Baby, let's get out of here because I don't want to do a police report on my dress." It's a good video. You've got to see it, and it's a real good video. But yeah, and I always admire a woman that is strong. I think that it's time for women to rise up and take their place. Sure, I like that. I like an independent woman, and Amparo fits that mold. But at the same time, she's very tender-hearted. That people could easily think that she's nothing. They could take it. They could try to take advantage of her, but they'll have something else coming. But anyway, that's basically what I wanted to say about Amparo Collazo. Elaine, we saw her story. She was adopted by her parents, foster parents, because her real biological parents had died. Her foster parents are Miguel and Maria Rivera. I don't know, by this time that you hear this podcast, Miguel dies because if you follow the YouTube story of the Jake and Elaine show, Miguel, Elaine's father, died. And that really causes a hurt in Elaine because, see, Elaine had been estranged from her father. Elaine went through a period of rebellion. And what happened was that she left the home. And she was at odds with her father because her father loved her. Her father was very overprotective of her, but she couldn't understand why her father was the way he was towards her. So she decided to go out there, experience life, leave the church, and there she went to New York City. She studied, she went to college, and then after she finished her college degree in psychology, she went to New York City. And once she went to New York City, she got established there, and she started. She met a stockbroker. She went and lived and shacked up with him. They were going to get married, but he died of a heart attack. But Elaine, it has a high Q. One of the things that is her greatest strength. She has a high Q and she learns. And I'll tell you one thing about Elaine. Jake doesn't have to worry about running out of money with her because she's a psychologist. She earns at least maybe $110,000 a year, plus her boyfriend, her fiance, the one that died of a heart attack, that she was planning to marry, that she was devastated about his death. She almost had a nervous breakdown. This guy had really showed her the ins and out of the stock market, and she could measure the stock. She could look at the stock and she could know where it's coming. I mean, she's to the point that she doesn't say it, she doesn't boast, but she has quite a bit of money in her account. Probably maybe a couple of million. Not anything to boast about, but she's very, very comfortable. And Jake knows about it, and Jake doesn't want to take advantage of her. That's why he felt bad about her paying the meal when they went out together, because it went out, on a date. But she is a person that has a high Q, a high Q, and she could take any stock and she could make money out of it. That's how good Elaine is. Well, notwithstanding, she got involved back with the church, and during that time, she calls her father. She apologizes to her father, makes amends, and she's doing a tremendous work in the community, giving GED classes. I do apologize for that background noise because we do have a background noise sometimes of people passing by, and I do apologize for that. But anyway, she started giving some GED classes to people who are underprivileged in her community, and she has a heart to help out the poor. She really does, and she has a giving spirit. And she's God has used her to help people out because she doesn't put on the airs. She's very simple. What you see is what you get. She doesn't even boast that she has a lot of money. She keeps it to herself. Well, when she was having a friendship with Jake, they had a friendship for 6 months. During that time, she tries her best to help him out because he has this attitude. She had to correct his attitude. So once she gets past that, they become very good friends. And she does her best to teach him the GED courses. But Jake has a hard time during that time. And then he sees an easy way out. He'll say, he starts to look at a couple of things and he'll say, well, I'm going to get into boxing because he used to box while he was in prison. So he had a friend of his who was a boxer. So he said, I'll put on some gloves and make some quick cash, which really helped him out, helped him get out of a bind because he was pretty good. He was going up in the ranks. But Elaine finds out about it. She doesn't know about it, but she finds out about it. And she secretly goes to one of his fights. And then she sits down, and while she's seeing him, she admires the strength because, I mean, he's taking a shellacking, he's taking a pounding, but she is hurting with every blow, with every punch, with everything. She feels it, and she cries, and she's feeling sorry for him, and she can't stand it, so she leaves. But Jake manages to stand throughout the fight. He loses the fight. It was the first fight he lost. He was bruised, and he was limping a little bit. But he says, well, let me get back to the GED class. And somehow, some way, he gets back with the GED class. And Elaine sees him, and Elaine is so happy to see him. And it's during that time that Elaine requests to talk to him after class. And the students, they kind of know that they have something going, but they're quiet about it. They're cool. So what happens is that Elaine takes him after class, and the classroom is empty. And she starts to embrace him, to hug him as a friend. Again, the relationship was platonic. So she hugs him and she tells him how much she cares about him and how she heard it. She was hurt seeing him taking the pounding, the beating, and Jake starts to reason within himself. He sees the motherly nature that she has. That she's kind of like the motherly type. She cares about people. She's very kind-hearted, and at that moment, Jake realizes that he has something there of value. He has a special person. And then during that time, as she's hugging him, he tells her, Elaine, I'm in love with you. I'm in love with you. And then he kisses her and she responds with a kiss and everything. And it comes from platonic to a romantic relationship. Now, I'll say this. I don't want to elaborate whether they had any hanky-panky before they got married. I like to think they didn't, but if they did, well, I should know because I'm the creator of it. I would say that they probably did have a little bit going before they got married, but they made it right. They repented. They got right with the Lord, and they got married, and because they got to be that relationship, that romantic relationship, got to be intense. And then when Jake went to class and took his GED for the second time, he passed it. So they wanted to celebrate. Him and Elaine wanted to celebrate, and Elaine asked him to leave boxing for her. She said, "Honey, will you quit boxing for me?" And because she didn't want to see him get hit, she didn't want to see him get hurt. So he was faced with that decision. He had bills to pay, but he was faced with that decision because he loved her, but he didn't know that she was an expert in Wall Street and she had all that extra. He didn't know that. He figured that he was just a regular psychiatrist. So what happened was that they said yes, and what happened? He went through a time of probably 3 weeks, a month, that he had trouble paying his bills. But she started out, first of all, when he said yes, she said, I'm going to pay this bill in the restaurant. This is on me, baby. So she paid the bill, and then she was there to help him. She would ask him how he's doing, if he's behind on rent or what have you. She stroke a check and help him out. And then he said, well, baby, don't do that. You don't need to do that. But she insisted. She didn't tell him that she had all that money. She just stroked him a check, and then it says, here, this will take care of you for the whole month. That's the kind of person she is. She's very, very, very kind-hearted. But she has a temper. Once you cross her, as a psychologist, she has to exercise tremendous patience. But when she's outside her work, it doesn't take long for anyone to get a rise out of her, because she has what is called a Texas temper. She's from San Antonio, was born in San Antonio, and like I said, she's very, very kind-hearted. But don't make her lose her temper. She can be mean as a rattlesnake. But what happens was that she helps with Jake's expenses, and then comes the time when he gets called to work with a construction company, and it's during that time that he gets tremendous favor with the boss. The boss likes what he's doing. Within a couple of months, he gets to be foreman, and he gets to start seeing an increase in his salary. So what happens? He pops the question at Elaine. Again, he doesn't know that Elaine has all that money and all that stuff. He just figures that she's a psychologist, she's earning average, but he pops the question at her, and of course she accepts, and they get married, and they go off to Hawaii. It's funny because Jake has a weakness for women, and he starts to look at these women walking on the beaches of Hawaii, and Elaine gets very jealous. So that puts a little bit of friction in their marriage. But then other than that, they seem to be a happy couple. And then they get married. And then it's during that time that they come back from their honeymoon. They start having some challenges in their relationships. I think Jake has a problem with his discipline. He's He's a person that's kind of set in his ways, and Elaine likes order. So Elaine knows that Jake is a good cook. So she's looking for a home cooked meal. So she tells Jake, we gotta go easy on takeout. Let's just depend upon a home cooked meal. So what happens is that he agrees, but he gets sidetracked playing games, video games, and all that stuff, and he takes a nap. So she comes back, and he was supposed to take out the chicken that was in the refrigerator. Mind you, he was supposed to take out the frozen chicken, and he forgot to do that. And she gets so mad that Texas temper gets the best of her, and she starts to say, "Repeat after me, duh." And I mean, she does it about 6 times. You've got to see that. But then Jake feels so bad. He goes, digs into his own pocket, gets her a decent meal, gets her some flowers, and they make up. But lately, in these coming days, Elaine was having trouble getting along with Jake, and it's because she found out that she was pregnant, and she was scared, and she was scared about her being pregnant. I don't know, she had a fear of being pregnant, and I'll just leave it at that because there's much more to it, and I want to invite you to watch the Jake and Elaine show. I want to invite you to see that on YouTube. It has a lot of drama. If you want to see some comedy, let me know. I know that if you maybe I might be talking to some Jake and Elaine fans. If you want to see their comedy acts, let me know. I do have a playlist of their comedy acts because see what happened. They used to be under the Christian Corner Ministry in YouTube, and then I decided to give them their own channel. Their comedy is on the Christian Corner Ministry. So I'll be glad to send you the playlist so you could watch their comedic act. They have a lot of funny jokes, by the way. And then it turns into drama once they move into their own channel. But I think Jake and Elaine is here to stay for a while. We're going to do some analysis on some more characters. So in the meantime, God bless you. It's been a pleasure talking to each of you. Again, this is not an avatar. This is yours truly. I expect to see you on the Jake and Elaine show. Please support the Jake and Elaine show on YouTube. I really need your support. I need the views. I need to know that you're there to support me. And I thank you for listening to this podcast. May you have a wonderful and blessed day in the Lord. God bless. Bye-bye.
We truly appreciate you spending your time with us. If you'd like to get your hands on our latest playlist, share your thoughts, or ask a question, we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at the Victory Corner at thechristiancorner.org. Be sure to tune in next time when Caleb Santos returns with more insights on the Jake and Elaine show. Until then, take care.